Everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Since you've learned a little bit about actually getting the data and making some of those measurements, I want to highlight a little bit about how you can take the data out of the Globe program's database and add it to a map. And this is a really important piece of your scientific data, helping people to understand where you're actually working. This is study area, as we like to refer to it. And so I'm going to be demonstrating how to do this to take us into the ArcGIS program. And, um, and that's to build off of the idea of creating a story map from this. So we're going to hop over here and hopefully you all know how to work with the ADAT system here in Globe. If you don't, download the PowerPoint or watch the video. But here, I'm going to demonstrate first getting the data out of the database, and then so that we can upload it and actually create a map. So if we go into the advanced data access tool here, I'm just going to select just some tree heights that may have been measured. And if I filter out and just make a selection off of that, the next thing I'm going to do is look for any trees that are nearby. And so you need to look up and find out what is the latitude and longitude, the location on Earth where you are doing your study area. And so you might focus around your particular school or around your city to be able to bring in all the data that you have are interested in. So where I'm located is at 45 degrees north and minus 123. And I'm just using whole numbers because of where I'm located is pretty close to where those two lines cross. And I'm going to just look at any trees that are around 20 kilometers from this location. So I'm going to add that filter. And then I'm just going to filter out. And I notice here that there's 13 sites. And that's really important to recognize because the GLOBE program puts everything onto sites. And so if you have citizen science data, like what we were just looking at coming through the GLOBE Observer, it will have this sort of funny looking name that refers to a particular 100-meter by 100-meter area. Or you might actually have locations that have been defined by a particular school. And so this, just by looking at this data set, data table right here, you can start to get an understanding of who created that data and where it's coming from. And to actually get the data, I want to obtain the measurement data itself. And so you can see in those 13 sites or 13 locations, there's actually 15 tree heights that were measured. So it will take a little bit of time as the data gets packaged up and rolled up and made available to me. So you can wait a little bit. If you have a lot of data, this can take a couple minutes to actually roll up and access. And as soon as that is available, you'll be able to download it in a zip file. So this is a compressed format that puts the data table into a package that allows you to download it pretty easily and quickly off of the internet. And so, like you can see, even for these 13 records, it can take a little bit of time to access and get the data itself. You can access the summary data, which instead of getting the 15 tree height measurements that were made in these locations, it will summarize that and provide the data in a slightly different format. So you might want to try both and see what the difference is in the data table and for your particular research question. And as soon as that's ready for download, you get this option right here, and you can then download it. So I'm going to save that file, and then I can go up to my browser window here and open that up. And you'll see that in mine, I have a variety of files already downloaded. You'll see that it gets named in a particular way. And then I need to open up that zip file. So there's a variety of tools that allow you to actually extract that data. I'm just going to use this archive utility. And now you can see that I have this .csv file, and this is a comma separated format that is generic. And so, and that allows me to work with it in a lot of different types of software packages. In our case, we want to look at this because we need to format it. So I'm going to use Microsoft Excel as a way of looking at this. And so you can see now we've downloaded the data and we have some different field names. And so you want to go investigate and find out exactly what these mean. But some of them are straightforward. And we can see here in the second line, the first line here going across, we have the field names that are stored in the database. And you can see at the beginning, we actually have the name of the protocol that we downloaded. So it allows you to keep track of what you're actually measuring. In this second line, you'll actually see inside of here some of the descriptions that are actually included. And this is something that we need to remove before we can map this. So I'm just going to highlight that and delete that out. Most mapping software will not understand that second row. It really just wants to see this first one. The other thing that we're going to do here is this latitude and longitude column refer back to that site ID. So one of the things that I'm going to do to help us with the mapping, because I want to see the actual locations where we measured these, I'm going to change this and call it site latitude. And then I'm going to call this one site longitude. And because when you look down, you can actually see the locations where they are the same site, the same 100-meter area, right? And so when I actually do this mapping, we're going to want to go all the way over here to the edge. And here we have the measurement latitude. So I'm going to just fix this database a little bit and call this the latitude and longitude. And that will help us when we actually do our mapping. And so if I change this right here to the latitude and longitude, our software will automatically recognize those fields as our coordinates. One thing to note is that here in our very first column, we don't actually, in this one, we don't have a latitude and longitude for those exact locations. So to me, when I go to map this, I actually I could use this latitude and longitude, but in our case, I'm actually just going to delete that one out because I don't know exactly where that tree is located. And so, that's one of those considerations that when you start looking at the data, you can start to see some different challenges and issues. One of the things that I'll highlight is that this one was recorded back in 1995 at the very beginning of the GLOBE program. So you can actually see by using the Globe Observer app, you have a little bit more data completeness than some of the historical data that you might find in the database. So you need to spend a little bit of time getting to know your data so you can actually actively get exactly what you're after here. So you have to spend a little bit of time cleaning up the data. And that's an important science skill that we all spend time doing so that we can minimize some of our errors. But I'm going to just delete that row out completely. And I'll record in my methods that I removed that data so that I can track and report it in my final report. One of the important things that now that I've looked at some of the data and I can see what I actually want to record inside of here, I now need to save this file again. And remember, this is saved as a comma separated file. And to be able to save it in that same format, I want to actually highlight all of the records that I want to keep. And otherwise, Excel will end up only keeping that one cell. So what I will actually do is go up to my File menu and click the Save As button. And you can see that I want to use that same file format of CSV, but I'm going to change this to make the name a little bit more descriptive. So I'm going to select tree height and I will call it Peter's study area. And then, again, you want to have a good descriptive name so that you can keep track. You might even be able to pass this off to some other researcher. So tracking these are really incredibly important skills that you want to spend a little bit of time doing. So you'll usually get this alert, and this is one of these file format things that really matters when you're working with a computer. So here it's just alerting me that I might lose some of those features that Excel likes to keep, and that's totally fine for this format. So I'm going to say yes there. So what I can now do is go to you should, if you don't you have access through your school, you can might ask your teacher about having access to this ArcGIS online software platform. And there's a lot of tutorials and hands-on tutorials that allow you to actually see how to work with this. You can explore a lot of the different types of projects that other people are working on, whether it be tracking COVID or whether it be tracking wildfires, air quality. There's a lot of really interesting sort of features that you can learn about here. So as you're starting to think about your own project and summarizing it, make use of this resource. And you can get a free trial access to this, but as a student, you can also hopefully have access through your school. But that's something to really consider about mapping software is making sure that you get something that works for your computer system and for the type of analysis you want to do. Here, I just want to put that data onto a map so that I can report it for the IVSS. Maybe do some summaries, do some spatial analysis, some geography research, looking at how close my trees are or making a map in that way. Um, and so, when you actually log in, after you've logged in, I have a lot of maps and data that I've been working with here on my own. But one of the things that I want to do is first I need to get that spreadsheet that we were just working off of, that comma separated file, up into the cloud, into this software system. So I'm just going to add an item here, and you can see some of the different options of how you can access this. But since I have it stored on my computer, I'm just going to do a little search really quick and look at my downloads file and look for the file that I just named right here. And so I'm going to select open. It's going to actually look through and analyze that data. And what's important here is that how can you actually know and place that spreadsheet data onto a map? And we're going to use those latitude, longitude coordinates to do this. And there's a variety of different ways of doing that, but you can see the field names that were in that database. And so you can see here's that site latitude, site longitude that I had to change the name of. And you can see all the different field names that are there. Um, and so we should be able to go down and find the latitude and longitude. And you notice that it recognizes by that name, latitude and longitude. So it's going to use those two fields and the data in there to actually put this on a map. One of the things is you want to publish this as a hosted layer. And that means that once it's put into this ArcGIS online environment, it's stored there, and the spatial data then becomes something you can work with and you can actually put on a map. So it sort of transforms it into something that you can work with. One thing I'm going to do is add some a tag to actually make them searchable and recognizable for other people. So I'm going to add this tree tag, and I'm going to click add item here. And so it's going to take a little bit of time, and it's going to process that. And then one thing I'm going to do is just open this in the map viewer. And what it should do is show me old data. And that's not at all what I want. And so what you can actually see now on here is it loaded up that tree height data. And so I can actually symbolize this. And right now it's just showing this by elevation. And you can see the different locations that where they're located out there. But I'm going to change this and change it to just the single locations here. And I can get in and actually change this symbology of this location to something like a green color, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Right? So you can play around with all of those different options. And now it's really actually kind of hard to see where those are. And so what I need to do is go back, and I'm going to turn off a couple of these other layers that were in there. But now you can actually see on this base map where those tree heights were measured. And if I can click on them, and here you can actually see some of the different information that's associated with that. We can see this particular tree that we're looking at is 9.97 meters tall. So one of the things that you can start doing with this is, hopefully, you can go in and you can change the base map that's underneath it. You can show a satellite imagery, or you can actually change it to something like a light gray canvas so that those colors stick out a little bit more. And I'm going to, save this map as my tree map. And again, I want to use a nice tag here to be able to do this and make the summary so that it's my tree map. But you want to be nice and descriptive about this. So I'm going to save that. And now I actually have this this map open and available to me so that I can add it to a story map. I can use it as something that is part of the whole presentation that I'm going to do. So I wanted to highlight how you take data out of the GLOBE database system for an area of interest and be able to make a map like this. The neat thing is you can share this out, and you can actually create a web app. You can do a variety of different things, including embedding it into your own story maps. But we're running out of time. And so I wanted to just really focus on that little aspect of taking data and creating a map for your study area of interest. And I will go through and make some other recordings, and we'll post that up to our trees blog about how to embed this and some of the interesting ways that you can use sliders or other ways of actually highlighting the differences between the different trees or the attributes of those fields that were measured. So I hope that you take some of this and are able to create a really exciting map as part of your IVSS.
All right. Thank you, Peter. We have a question in the chat. Can we use QGIS or Saga instead of ArcGIS?
Definitely. The big thing right here is that ArcGIS Online is a full suite of tools that allow you to do analysis in the cloud. There's even some NASA data that's up there, different satellite imagery. And then importantly, you can turn that into a story map, and it's all encompassing. But you're right that QGIS allows you to, a different software package allows you to do more analysis, and you can create your own study area maps using a variety of these GIS, geographic information system packages. And so, don't just take this as the only way of doing it. Software engineers are coming up with all kinds of interesting ways to access this and to be able to create your own maps and to be able to do some of that analysis. So I'll make sure to also highlight that as an open type of software that allows you to do this without having to work with this particular cloud-based system. But it's really incredibly powerful, and you usually can get access as a student to some of those developing software, the different tools that are available inside of there. So we'll make sure to highlight that on our blog so that as everybody's racing to finish up their IVSS projects, we can help you actually show us where you're doing it and maybe do some spatial or geographic analysis around it. So that's a great question.